Welcome back, everyone, to Whip Check.
Great to be back.
Now, before we dive in, just a quick reminder, if you like what we do, hit that thumbs up, subscribe so you catch the next Whip Check.
And definitely check out the source videos we're talking about today. We've got CarWow, Redline Reviews, and Doug Demuro.
Yeah, seeing the cars moving, hearing them, it really adds a lot.
Totally.
So today, our Whip Check is focused squarely on the new Lotus Emira. We're pulling together the key takeaways, the different angles from those reviews.
Basically giving you the full picture without you having to sift through hours of footage.
Exactly. You want the info, you want it quick, but you also want it thorough. Right. Let's get into it.
Okay, so visually, the Emira seems to make a big first impression.
Oh, yeah.
It's interesting, all three reviewers sort of jumped to these high-end comparisons almost immediately.
Right.
CarWow, they kicked things off calling it a budget Ferrari F8 Tributo, which is quite a statement, you know? Not just the mid-engine look, but the overall vibe. Especially when you think it starts around, what, 60,000 pounds?
Yeah, a tiny fraction of the Ferrari price. That's bold.
It really is. Well, what do you make of that? Does it look that exotic?
I mean, Redline Reviews seem to agree. They called it a baby Ferrari, really hammering home the supercar looks. They pointed out the standard LEDs, that aggressive front splitter. The blue one they had looked stunning.
That Atlantis blue, yeah. It really showed off the lines.
Makes you wonder if Lotus was deliberately trying to channel that Italian supercar feel.
Well, maybe. But it's not just for show, apparently. CarWow noted the bonnet vents, which look like they're off the Avija hypercar.
Right.
They actually do help with aero, cooling, airflow.
Functional style.
Exactly. And Redline mentioned other functional vents, too, so there's substance behind the styling.
Doug Demuro took a slightly different tack. He framed it as the return of Lotus.
Which it kind of is, in a way.
And crucially, their last gasoline-powered car ever.
That's the big one. Adds a whole layer of significance, doesn't it?
Definitely. He also zoned in on some practical upgrades. Like the key fob, it has a little Emira shape for the trunk button.
Oh, nice touch.
And wider door openings, narrower sills compared to the Evora. Things that used to be, well, a bit annoying on older Lotuses.
Yeah, addressing those usability quirks, it sounds like they've listened.
That point about it being the last petrol Lotus, it really changes things. Suddenly, it's not just another sports car.
It's an end-of-an-era car. Potentially a collector's item right out of the gate.
And Doug's point about the Volvo parts, because of Geely owning both.
Right. The turn signal stalks, wiper controls, some steering wheel buttons.
Yeah, power mirrors too, even the play pause button.
It shows how that platform sharing works. You get maybe more refined switchgear in what's still an exotic.
Probably saves them a fortune too.
Oh, undoubtedly. And did you see that start-stop button behind the little red cage, like a fighter jet missile launch cover?
Huh. Yeah, bit of theater there. Love it. Okay, let's talk engines. Power. Because you've got choices here.
Two distinct flavors, yeah. CarWow laid them out.
You've got the familiar one first, the Toyota V6. 3.5 liters, supercharged.
Good old reliable power. Makes 400 horsepower, 420 newton meters of torque.
You can get that with a proper 6-speed manual.
Which is great news for purists.
Or an optional torque converter automatic.
Right. And then there's the newcomer, the AMG engine.
It's from Mercedes-AMG, yeah. Their high-performance division. It's the 2.0-liter four-cylinder turbo.
M139 engine, I think. Same as in the A45 hot hatch, but detuned a bit for the Emira.
Yeah. CarWow said 360 horsepower, but actually it's slightly more torque than the V6 430 newton meters.
And that one only comes with an 8-speed dual-clutch automatic, DCT, with launch control.
So a classic supercharged V6 manual experience versus a modern high-tech turbo DCT setup. Interesting contrast.
And the performance numbers reflect that. CarWow found the AMG version, despite technically having less horsepower in their test car. It was actually quicker to 60 miles an hour, 4.2 seconds versus 4.3 for the V6 manual. That quick shifting DCT makes a difference.
Makes sense.
Although the V6 had a slightly higher top speed, 180 versus 176.
Redline Reviews had the AMG car, didn't they?
They did, and they mentioned the US version gets a power bump back up to 400 horsepower.
Ah, okay. So parity there, basically.
Yeah, and 354 pound-feet of torque. They were testing it using launch control,
Right.
hitting 0-60 in 3.6 seconds consistently. Pretty rapid.
Wow, that's quick.
They really like the sound of that AMG engine, too. Apparently, it's got some character.
Doug Demuro confirmed the V6 details, carrying over from the Evora. 400 horsepower, 310 pound-feet.
Right.
And he highlighted that exposed gear linkage on the manual V6. A cool visual touch.
Definitely an enthusiast detail.
And also, Importantly, the fact that the Emira keeps hydraulic power steering.
Ah, good. Not electric power steering. Purists will love that. Much better feel, generally.
So this choice of engines, it really lets you spec the car to your taste, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Do you want that raw, slightly old-school V6 feel with the manual? Or the sharp, fast, techie AMG experience?
Redline actually said they preferred driving the four-cylinder.
Yeah, that was interesting. Might surprise a few people. You tend to think bigger engine equals better sports car, but maybe not always.
Depends what you value, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's move inside. The cabin. Sounds like a huge improvement over past Lotuses.
Oh, night and day, apparently. That was a consistent theme. CarWow was really impressed. Leather everywhere, nice two-tone options.
Proper screens, too.
Yeah.
Digital driver display, central touchscreen.
And wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Full widescreen for Android Auto, even.
That's good. And they like the physical controls for stereo and climate.
Yes.
Yeah.
A big plus. Not everything buried in menus. It feels like they've thought about usability. Practical stuff, too, like decent door bins, cup holders, phone storage.
Things you just wouldn't have found or expected in an Elise or Exige.
Exactly. It's trying to be more livable. There's even storage space behind the seats.
Right, like a shelf.
Yeah. And optional fancy seats, 12-way electric adjustment, KE sound system.
Kiev audio.
Redline echoed all that. Premium leather, Alcantara, contrast stitching. They praise the material quality overall.
It sounds like a genuinely nice place to be now.
It does. Redline mentioned the KF system was 12 speakers, over 500 watts, memory seats for the driver, low step-in height.
Easier to get in and out of than the Evora, Doug said, too.
Yeah, and that flat-bottomed, flat-top steering wheel, the fighter jet start button again, drive mode selector.
Okay, so lots of tech, improved quality. What about Doug's take?
He also stressed the better comfort and practicality. Mentioned those Volvo controls again.
Right, the shared bits.
Like the 10.2-inch screen, good layout, customizable wireless CarPlay and Android Auto, performance data too, G-forces, power, torque, tire pressures.
All the track day info you'd want.
And he noticed the digital gauge cluster changes appearance with the drive modes Tour, Sport, Race.
Standard stuff these days, but good to see.
Sport seats sounded pretty grippy. Cup holders, small center console storage. And he spotted that roof bubble.
Ah, yeah, for helmet headroom.
Smart. Shows they expect people to track these. Cargo space behind the seats, plus the rear boot. Doug said they sort of supplement each other.
Because there's no frunk, right? No front trunk.
Correct. Engines in the middle, boots behind it, nothing up front.
Okay, so lots of positives on the inside. 80 downsides mentioned?
Well, Redline wasn't totally sold on the feel of the drive mode selector, said it felt a bit cheap. And the automatic shifter wasn't the most intuitive design, apparently.
Okay.
CarWow mentioned the classic enemy. Piano black plastic. Scratches easily.
Always.
And yeah, the lack of front storage compared to, say, a Porsche Cayman is a definite practicality hit.
No driver's vanity mirror either, apparently. Bit odd.
And the reversing camera is quite exposed. Might get dirty easily with no washer.
Little things. Doug also noted the weight again heavier than a Cayman.
And no handle to close the engine cover lid easily. You have to push on the paintwork.
Ouch. Yeah, these small details can add up.
It's that balancing act, isn't it? Major improvements, but still a focused sports car, so some compromises remain. And that Cayman comparison just keeps coming up.
It's the benchmark in this space, really.
Yeah.
Okay, the crucial bit. How does it drive?
This is where Lotus usually shines, right?
Exactly.
CarWow seemed impressed. They talked about light deftness in the handling.
You mean?
That really direct, connected feel. Neutral balance, natural hydraulic steering, classic Lotus traits.
Nice. What about the manual V6 they drove?
Gear shift was solid, maybe a bit chunky, but positive. Overall, a fine handling car with that Lotus DNA intact. Ride quality good, too. Smoothed out at speed, great on twisty roads.
Sounds promising. What did Redline think with the AMG?
They were raving. Called it a superlative driver's car.
High praise.
Powered by a stonking motor, their words for the AMG engine.
Okay.
Loved the steering. Very talkative, quick, direct, lots of feedback. Flat cornering, felt light and agile. Super engaging. And they liked the dual clutch transmission, too.
And they preferred this setup to the V6.
Yeah, they explicitly said they preferred the four-cylinder driving experience. They did recommend the touring suspension grade, though, for better comfort.
Interesting. Doug's driving impressions.
Similar positives on the hydraulic steering and the handling precise flat cornering.
Quite.
He did say the suspension felt stiffer than a Cayman's, so maybe a slightly harsher ride day to day, but the payoff is that sharp handling and steering feel.
Trade-offs again. And the V6.
He found it torquey, reliable. It's a Toyota engine, after all. But he felt the manual gearbox wasn't quite as smooth or satisfying as the Cayman's benchmark shifter.
Okay, so consistent praise for the core handling and steering feel across the board. That's the main thing, arguably.
Absolutely. Lotus seems to have nailed that fundamental driving appeal, but the nuances between the engines and transmissions mean you really want to drive both.
For sure. Let's talk value and rivals. Where does this fit?
Redline put the base price around $99,900 US for either engine, apparently. Their test car was just over $102K.
So, touching six figures, what's it up against?
The usual suspects. Porsche 718 Cayman GTS starts around $97K, but options quickly push it higher, maybe $115K like for like.
Right.
C8 Corvette starts much lower, around $70, but typically optioned up towards $90K. Then maybe the GR Supra Nissan Z.
Though Redline felt the Emira was a definite step above the Supra and Z.
Yeah, more premium, more exotic. They argued it's for someone who wants that ultimate driving bliss, but maybe finds the Porsche a bit too common.
The rarer choice appeal. What about Doug's pricing?
He mentioned a lower starting point maybe for a non-first edition, around $77,000. His first edition V6 was about $96,000.
Still puts it right in Cayman territory.
Yep. He also ID'd the Cayman as the main rival, plus the C8 Vet and maybe the Jaguar F-Type.
And his conclusion?
He felt the Cayman is probably the better all-around car, more practical, more polished maybe. But the Emira wins if you want something that looks more exotic, feels more special, more thrilling, without actually spending supercar money.
Because Doug's score reflected that.
It's exactly. 63 out of 100. Strong on weekend fun and performance. Tied with the Cayman GT4 and C8 Vet there, which is impressive.
Wow.
But lower scores for daily usability, tech, and critically, the brand's reputation for reliability and dealer support.
Yeah, that's always been the question mark with Lotus, hasn't it?
It has. They need to prove that's improved under Geely's ownership.
Okay, so let's wrap up this whip check on the Lotus Emira. What's the final verdict synthesizing all this?
Well, it's clearly a car with stunning looks, huge curb appeal.
Definitely seems to turn heads.
And it delivers a really engaging, proper Lotus driving experience. That hydraulic steering is key. The handling sounds fantastic.
Especially with that AMG engine. It seems particularly potent and sharp, based on Redline's review.
Yeah, though the V6 manual offers that more traditional appeal. And the interior is a massive leap forward in quality and tech compared to older Lotuses.
But there are buts.
Always. It's heavier than its key rival, the Cayman. Practicality still has some question marks, particularly the lack of front storage.
Those little interior niggles, the brand reputation question.
Exactly. Reliability, dealer network, those remain concerns for some buyers, as Doug pointed out.
So it's a mix. You get the exotic looks and the thrilling drive, but maybe sacrifice some everyday polish compared to the benchmark Porsche.
Precisely. The reviewers highlighted different aspects, and ultimately what matters most will depend on you, the potential buyer. What are your priorities in a sports car?
For me, based on this, that blend of head-turning design and that core dynamic competence, especially the steering feel, is really compelling. That's what Lotus is about.
It's a strong combination.
Which leads to a final thought for you to ponder. Lotus is going all electric after this.
Right. This is the last hurrah for gasoline.
So will the Emira become this hugely desirable modern classic because it's the last petrol Lotus, almost irrespective of its minor flaws?
Interesting question. Will that last-of-its-kind status elevate it?
And what does that tell us about how much we still value that sound, that feel, that whole internal combustion experience, even as the electric future rushes towards us?
Something to definitely chew on. Will pure driving feel always trump ultimate efficiency for some enthusiasts?
We'll leave you with that thought until the next whip check.